Hello everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 33. Looking over at my calendar, man, it has been a while since I did one of these. I mean, looking at the last upload of episode 32, that went up on May 17th. So it has been a while since I did one of these. Funny thing is though, last time I missed episode, I believe it was 30, due to being, out with like sickness, like my throat was like super messed up and I couldn't talk. And what's funny is that on that occasion, even though I only missed a week, coming back for that episode, a week later, it felt so weird. It felt like I had been gone for like months, and it felt super awkward, like sitting down and recording again and everything. And the funny thing is that this time, even though I've been gone for I guess you could say 3 weeks, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. And it doesn't feel awkward this time, which I don't know how that works. That's super strange. But yeah, somehow this feels like more natural coming back to. So I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know why that's happening. But yeah, last time I felt super awkward being gone. This time, I don't know. It feels like it's only been like a week. It doesn't feel like it's been a long time since I did one of these. But I don't know. That aside, though, whether it feels like it or not, it has been a while since I did one of these, and a lot has happened, both, like news-wise and like what I was up to and stuff. So, without further ado, I guess I'll dive into my week, or in this case, my weeks, what I've been up to. So, for anyone who remembers, during the last episode 32, I said that I would be attending a convention, and right after that, I would be like on a family trip. And so I said, I wasn't really sure if I would be able to, sit down and record a podcast. So sure enough, during Memorial Day weekend, which was, I think, like the 23rd to the 27th, something like that, I attended Phoenix Fan Fusion. And I don't want to talk about it too much because I do have a video about it over on my channel. And I think the video speaks for itself, It shows like the different moments of the convention. It shows, the merch I bought. I talk about that. There's like a little montage at the end where, all the cosplays I saw, that sort of thing. But like really briefly, just to kind of summarize, I went to Phoenix Fan Fusion. This is like the 4th year that I attend like the Phoenix area convention. And, every year it changes its name. This year was Phoenix Fan Fusion. And I had a really good time. Like even though it was kind of quiet this year and a lot of people that I wish had been there weren't there, like Mr. Creepypasta, Team 4-Star. I was hoping that the voice actress for Lily from Psychonauts, I was hoping she would be there again and she wasn't, stuff like that. I mean, I still had a good time regardless, Like, I went to a bunch of panels that were really fun. One was for Pokémon and the other one was for Kingdom Hearts. And even though those were more of just like a discussion with fellow fans, they were still pretty fun. It was just talking with fellow fans, different things we like about each respective franchise, what we hope to see in the future, that sort of thing. So those panels were fun. And then I went to like 2 panels that were super wild. One of them was called Disney After Dark. And that panel was just like super weird. It was basically like, man, the people who do these, they have good editing skills. Because basically they're like Disney / any other sort of animated cartoon, like music videos. Like if you've ever seen AMVs, which are like anime music videos, it's like that. But like the editing is on point. Where basically like they have their own storylines and they're shipping like characters that aren't even from the same movies, Like there's something I shared over on my Instagram and it's part of the convention video where there's like this music video where it's like Sonic is like in love with Ariel, from The Little Mermaid, and it shows her like in the hospital and he's like sad and taking care of her. And there was like another music video where it was all about what's his name? Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet, and he's apparently in love with Anastasia, the ugly stepsister from Cinderella. And it's like this whole thing of how they're in love with each other, but then she gets jealous because she sees him flirting with like Hollywood from what's that movie called? Cool World. Yeah, he's flirting with like her from Cool World, and he's flirting with, I want to say like Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, stuff like that. And so she's like super jealous. And so at one point it shows there's like a time skip, and it's like implied she got plastic surgery to look like Jessica Rabbit. And so Jim Hawkins is like talking to Jessica Rabbit, and he's like telling her like, no, you were mistaken. Like I was like, telling them to go away because I loved you. And then she like starts crying, and there's like another time skip where she like changed back apparently. And like, I don't know, it's just like the wildest like fan fiction stories and ships, you know, like different romantic ships. But it was hilarious, and like the commentary was on point, and like that panel was fun. Like I loved it, you know. And another panel that I went to that was even crazier than that one, it was called Is It Hentai? And it was like this weird like competition where they would have, I think it was like 9 people at a time. They did a few rounds of it, but they would have 9 people sitting with their back turned to a projector and with their eyes closed. And they would play like a clip of like an anime or like a hentai. And they had to guess just based on the sound if it was a hentai or not. And it was like the craziest thing because there was stuff that sounded like it was hentai that wasn't. And there was stuff that sounded like it was. There was stuff that sounded like it was that wasn't. And there's stuff that sounded like it wasn't that was. And like, it was super funny though. Like there's one where there's like these 2 girls panting and they're like moaning and stuff. And it super sounded like a hentai. All the contestants thought it was a hentai. And it actually wasn't. It was just like this slice of life, like sports thing about these girls going on a jog and this other girl wanting donuts and like convincing the other girl, and like they're eating the food so they're satisfied, and like it's just like the craziest thing. Like, you had to be there, but it was really funny seeing people try to guess if it was hentai or not. So that panel was super fun. And yeah, besides that, you know, bought a bunch of merch, had a good time just hanging out with friends and, you know, just walking around and going to different panels and stuff. So like I said, I just had a really good time. You know, if anyone is curious to see more of my experience, like I said, there is a video over on my channel called Wannabe Reviewer. I think it's called Wannabe Reviewer Goes to Phoenix Fan Fusion 2019. And if you check it out, you know, you'll see some of the stuff I did at the convention. So, you know, there you go. I would say go check it out. And like I said, right after that, I also went on a family trip, and there's not really much to say there because, you know, it was more about spending time with family at different places, you know, and just looking at sites and stuff. But I also had a lot of fun with that. Basically, I went with my family to different parts of California and Nevada. And so, yeah, you know, at different points in the week, you know, I was around the Death Valley area. That was really interesting. And I was like in Las Vegas because my mom had never been. And, you know, me and my dad and we're showing her and my siblings strip or whatever you call it. So like, that was really fun. And so, yeah, you know, it's been a while since I've done a podcast, but it's because I was just up to traveling and stuff. And, you know, luckily I had a really good time. It was a really good, you know, 2 weeks since I've been on. So, you know, there you go. I just wanted to get you guys up to speed. So, yeah. When it comes to stuff that I've done since the last time I was on, I've done quite a bit. And unfortunately, I've got to admit, I don't remember all of it. So I took some notes of, I guess, like the biggest stuff I did, because I swear there was like more stuff I watched and like maybe even played, but I honestly don't remember. So sorry about that. But one thing that I watched, and it was just recently too, that was actually earlier this week, but that I wanted to share, is that I watched the pilot for a little web series called Villainous. The pilot was called The Atrocious Dawn. And yeah, for anyone who's familiar with my channel, I've talked about Villainous before. Villainous, aka Villainous, is this like little web series that a Mexican creator created, and currently it's like on the Cartoon Network Latin America like app or whatever, and it's like a series of like little shorts and stuff. And you know, I actually did a review of it like over a year ago, and I said, you know, that I really like the series. I think it's really interesting, has a cool premise, and then I'm hoping it becomes like a full-scale series. And sure enough, you know, it looks like it is getting there because it just had its pilot. And yeah, I thought the pilot was really good. I think seeing the show jump to like a longer format, like it felt really natural, you know? And I don't know, I think it works, you know? I thought the episode was really good. I think it really sets up what the show could be. Basically in the episode, you know, we're introduced to like this super villainous, and her name's like Penumbra, and apparently she like, if she gets in the sunlight, it hurts her, you know, like vampire style, and she's always getting beat up by this superhero called Sunblast. But he seems like he's kind of like an arrogant jerk, you know? And like she tries to explain to him that like if she's in the sunlight, it'll hurt her, but he doesn't care. Like he's just an arrogant prick. So basically, you know, she's kind of at the end of her rope. And when she sees this ad for the Black Cat organization, which is the organization that the main characters are a part of, she decides to hire them so that they can like defeat Sunblast for her. And, you know, so basically the episode is seeing how Black Cat, which is like the main character, and he's like he runs Black Hat organization. Basically, his 3 assistants, Dr. Flug, which is like the scientist guy with like a paper bag over his head, Dementia, which is like the crazy lizard looking girl, and 505, which is like this big blue, like cuddly little bear. Basically, it's their mission to stop Sunblast. And so it shows like their misadventure or whatever, trying to stop him. And like in the end, they do defeat him because, as I've said before, like this show does seem to play the idea of evil like straight, you know? Like even if they are kind of like goofy and kind of like screw up here and there, like they're like a more like competent version of Team Rocket, where they do get the evil deed done, and so they do defeat the hero. And yeah, I mean, that's basically what they show. But like I said, I think it's really cool. I think it worked. I thought the animation, you know, is definitely a step up. It looked really good. I thought the characters, you know, were really fun. I think like the premise, I think it works. I can totally see them, you know, making more episodes of like Black Hat organization going out after like different heroes with different powers and different locations, using different gadgets, that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was good. Probably gonna try to do a review of it, hopefully this upcoming week, you know, to get more people to like kind of aware of the show, because like I said, it's only really on an app, so a lot of people don't know about it yet. But I'd really like to see it get made into a full show, so you know, I want to do my part to get more people aware of it. But yeah, I recommend it. You know, if you can look it up on YouTube, there should be like a subbed version of it, and I think it's a really fun show, so I'd say check it out. Likewise, another show that I watched was Tucca and Bertie, and basically this show is made by the same person who does like the character designs of BoJack Horseman, if I'm correct. And basically, I think it is supposed to even be set like in the same universe, I think. And yeah, basically Tucca and Bertie, it's the show about 2 female birds. Tucca is a toucan, and Bertie, I think, is like a songbird or something like that. And, you know, it's about like these 2 friends, and one of them is trying to like kind of move on and be like a responsible adult. Like she's moving in with her boyfriend, and she's trying to like see if she can get a promotion at work, that sort of thing. Like she's trying to grow up. But her former roommate, Tucca, she's more of like a wild child, and she doesn't like really have a job, and she just wants to like go on adventures and like be wacky all the time. And so I don't know, it was really interesting seeing this show of these 2 characters and how like one wants to grow up, the other one is kind of avoiding it, and you know, kind of how their friendship goes through struggles because of that. And I don't know, like I said, I think it is a very good show, but it does take some time to get into. And it's the kind of thing where hopefully, you know, same as like BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman kind of had like a rough first season, but then after that, it's been like really good. So I'm hoping that likewise, you know, hopefully this show really like gets into its own rhythm. Hopefully it tones down Tucca a tiny bit, because I do feel she is like a bit like lol random all over the place. But overall, I enjoy it. I think it's pretty good. I think, you know, similar to BoJack Horseman, I think the way they have like these wacky characters and, you know, these like crazy plot lines with like, you know, like really abstract humor and stuff, but they also mix it with like very real like situations and emotions and stuff. I think it's really impressive. So I do recommend it. You know, I think it is a pretty good show, but I do warn you that, you know, it does take some time to get into because it has kind of like a rough start, you know. But overall, I enjoyed it, and who knows, maybe I'll try to do a review of that in the future as well. But until then, it's on Netflix. Go check it out if it sounds interesting to you. There you go. Finally, the last thing I have on my list of things that I did, I did this right before going to Comic-Con, actually. So that was like a while ago, but it's still fresh in my mind. I played What Remains of Edith Finch. Like, I know that this game came out a while ago. I've had it sitting on my PS4, I want to say for like a year maybe. I got it when it was like on sale for like $5, and I've heard it's a really good game, but I had just never gotten into it. Like, I never played it, and wow, this game is really good. And I'm just gonna say it now, but I really recommend it. Like, I think it is worth playing. For anyone who doesn't know, What Remains of Edith Finch, technically it's what you call like a walking simulator, because it has you controlling the characters. They walk around and interact with stuff. But at the same time, I think it's just like much more than that. I feel like the gameplay and the interactivity is just like, it's great, right? So taking a step back, What Remains of Edith Finch, basically you take the role of Edith Finch, and she's this girl that she's 17 years old. Basically her mom died fairly recently, and after her mom died, she inherited the old house that she used to live in up until she was 11. And, as you start the game, you're walking up to the house, and basically Edith is saying that, okay, she used to live in that house up until she was 11. Then she and her mom moved away or whatever, and she hasn't been there since. And she describes that when she used to live there, she was kind of afraid of it, but she never really knew why, because like the house is just really shrouded in mystery. Likewise, she knows that everyone in her family died very mysterious deaths, to the point that she is the last remaining Finch. And so part of the reason that she's going to the house is because she wants to know what happened to her family, because her mom was always very secretive about everything. And so now that her mom's dead and she left her the key to the house, she wants to know okay, what does this key open? She knows it's something in the house. What does this key open? What are the secrets of my family? Why did everybody meet a tragic end? And I don't know, she just wants to go back because she hasn't been there in forever. She kind of just wants to face that fear, I guess. And so basically you control Edith Finch as she walks up to the house. She goes into the house and she's exploring it, and you can interact with stuff, which is really, it's interesting seeing the different, things in the environment, seeing the history and the narration of Edith as she's talking about how she used to live in the house and the different people there, all that good stuff. What makes it interesting is that whenever you find your way into one of the rooms of one of the ancestors, so to speak, you basically always find a memento of the person. And when you interact with it, it switches to a first person perspective where you're playing as the ancestor, and they're talking about the events that led up to their death. So basically, for instance, one of the first stories you hear about, you go into, I believe it's Edith's I want to say it's her great aunt or something, right? And she died when she was 10 years old, and her name's Molly. And so you go into Molly's room. It's, it's decorated like a little girl's room. There's a little shrine on her desk that shows a picture of her. It has, her birthday, her death day, that sort of thing. And there's a little diary sitting on her desk. And when you open it, it switches to a first person perspective where, it's Molly narrating about how, she got sent to bed without dinner, and she woke up and she was really hungry. And so she was eating everything in her room, from gerbil food to a tube of toothpaste to little berries from a little holly bush she had in her room, that sort of thing. And then from there, when she opens a window, she transforms into a cat, and you're controlling the cat as it's hunting birds. And then once you catch the bird, you transform into a raven as it's hunting rabbits. Then you transform into a shark. Then you transform into a sea monster. And I know this sounds super crazy, but as the little girl's describing her being all these different monsters and eating everything to try to satiate that hunger, it's really interesting because you're playing as the animals as she's narrating. And then at the end, it switches back to the little girl, and she doesn't even know how she got back in bed because, last thing she knew, she was in the bathroom, eating the tube of toothpaste or whatever. And, from there, it kind of cuts out, And so it's kind of like, what does that mean? You know, like what's up with the story? But then if you kind of like think about it or like really look into like the story or whatever, it's implied that the little girl died of poisoning because, you know, she ate the toothpaste, she ate the gerbil food, she ate the holly berries, which are supposed to be like poisonous. And not only that, but everything that you just experienced through her eyes of her being like a cat and a raven and like a shark and all that, it's probably a hallucination because of the berries she ate. So basically you were playing as her, having hallucinations leading up to her death. So like, yeah. And it's kind of hard to explain, but trust me, it's really interesting because as you explore the house, you like see every member of Edith Finch. Like you see it through their eyes, you see their last moments, and you get to play as them. And every person has a different gameplay style. Like with the little girl, you control different animals and you're trying to like feed your hunger. As, you know, there's a member that I think it's like Edith's grandpa. You play as him using a camera and he's taking pictures of like a hunting trip until the moment that he leaves the camera on a timer, and the camera takes a picture of when this deer throws him over a cliff leading to his death. And it's just like, I don't know, it's so hard to explain because it's such a like sad game because of like its theme of death, a game to play as each member of the family, you know, in their last moments. But it's also so interesting because like the way the narration just strings you along and like the storytelling of like this family that seems to be under a curse that leads to their untimely demise. Like it's super interesting. And like, I don't know, I feel like I can't really explain it like just off the top of my head. You know, maybe I'm not paying a service to it, but trust me, if you have not played the game, I think it's so well done. I think you get like so into it. Like it's incredible. And I recommend it, you know, like you should be able to find it on like any platform basically for like really cheap. And if you can, I say play it because I think it's really good. Like I said, even though I played it like 2-3 weeks ago, like it's still fresh in my mind because I think it's just like that good, you know, like I just think it really stands out. And so, yeah, you know, there you go. I recommend the game. I think it's really good. I say go check it out, you know? And if you have played it, leave, you know, the comments below what you thought about it because, like, I really like that game. I just think it's, like, so good. So, there you go. Alrighty, and with that being said, that basically brings it to the end of my, like, time off. You know, like I said, I do think there might have been more stuff that I did that unfortunately I cannot remember, like for the life of me. So for now, I'm just going to talk about these few things that I talked about. Later, you know, if I remember more things that I did that are noteworthy, you know, I might talk about them in next week's podcast, you know, kind of like a little recap or whatever. But for now, this is the stuff I want to talk about, you know, watch some shows, played a game that I really enjoyed, you know, did some traveling, all that good stuff. So, you know, there you go. And with that being said, there are quite a few news stories to cover because I feel like a lot happened since my last podcast. So, you know, without further ado, let's dive into those. So, the first thing that I want to talk about, even though it is a more like recent story, I mean, I think it's only like a week old or whatever, but we finally have a release date for Death Stranding. As the title of the article states, Death Stranding launches November 8th. Now, I don't know how many of you have been following Death Stranding. For anyone who doesn't know, Death Stranding is a upcoming game by Hideo Kojima, who is best known for being like the creator / like director of the Metal Gear Solid. Well, I mean, Metal Gear in general, I guess. The Metal Gear franchise for Konami. And, you know, after Metal Gear Solid 5, I mean, that whole production was a mess and the game came out and it was incomplete and there was just like a lot of issues, right? But, you know, long story short, Hideo Kojima basically got, you know, kicked out of Konami. Ever since then, Konami hasn't really made games, you know, and so Hideo Kojima decided to make his own studio, partnered with Sony, and he announced that it was a game called Death Stranding. And for a long time, I want to say since like 2015 or something like that, people have been waiting to see what this game is and when it's coming out and stuff like that. And finally, after what feels like forever, we finally have like more trailers that seem to show more of like the gameplay. And we finally finally have a release date. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't really kept up with the trailers, I probably can't do them justice. I would say go look them up. But, you know, to make like a long story short and kind of give like a summary of what it looks like the game's going to be, basically it's this weird post-apocalyptic world where you play as a character portrayed by Norman Reedus, and basically like, he has this power where I guess he can like sense like spirits from like this other dimension, and they're called beached things because like Death Stranding is a term for when whales like strand themselves on a beach, and here I guess it's like a metaphor for like spirits stranding themselves like in our dimension, like they're leaking over. And so basically you play as like a Norman Reedus type character who's traveling around the, you know, former United States, and he's fighting these like evil spirits, and he's trying to like reunite civilization because like everything's kind of broken up. And I don't even know where to start. There's just like so much to say, but it looks really interesting. The gameplay looks really cool. The gameplay kind of reminds me of part Breath of the Wild, because it looks like you'll be running around this like huge world, just trying to make your way over like mountains and cliffs and like that sort of thing. Like it even shows at one point that you can pull like a ladder out of your inventory, and like you can pull out like climbing gear to like scale down mountains and stuff. So like that's really cool. And then it also reminds me a bit of like Metal Gear Solid 5, because it looks like it'll be like a thing where you're like, you know, stealthing around, and you have the ability to like hand to hand, you know, fight other people or whatever, you know, like evil factions, and there's guns involved and all sorts of stuff like that. And I don't know, I just think it looks really cool. I think it looks really interesting. I definitely know it's a game that I've been waiting a long time for, and it's just a super weird game. Like I said, I can't even do the game justice. Like, you have to look up the trailers. There's just such weird imagery. Like, from the fetus that just hangs out in the little like capsule thing connected to Norman Reedus, to, you know, Mads Mikkelsen as some sort of crazy like hell soldier, to Guillermo del Toro just being called Dead Man, like that's his name or whatever. Like, there's just so much crazy stuff in this game, but it looks really good. I'm excited for it. I know a lot of people are also excited for it, and we finally have a release date. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. And if you're excited for the game, you know, if you've been looking forward to it, there you go. It's finally coming soon. Speaking of coming soon, set to launch only a week after Death Stranding, Pokémon Sword and Shield launches November 15th, and we actually have a lot of new details, screenshots, and a new trailer. So I want to say the direct was like on the 4th? No, it might have been the 5th. I don't remember. Yeah, it was the 5th. Not too long ago, so like earlier this week, there was a Nintendo Direct focusing on Pokemon Sword and Shield, and sure enough, you know, they talked about a lot of new things. Basically, they talked about how the two legendaries, they're both dogs, but one of them is like a dog with a sword in its mouth. The other one has like a shield built into its head. So that's interesting. It's gonna be kind of open world looking. Like, honestly, they introduced this area called the Wild Area, where it's like this huge, expansive, like, land, and it says that depending on like the weather and the time of day and that sort of thing, different wild Pokemon will appear. So that looks really cool. They talked about raid battles similar to Pokemon Go, where you can team up with like a group of people to fight like a giant Pokemon and like kind of, you know, whittle away its health until you're able to catch it. They're gonna have that in the game, so like that's really cool. I mean, that's like the first time Pokemon has really had like a multiplayer aspect, so that's cool. They introduced Dynamax Pokemon, which basically it's the ability to make your Pokemon like kaiju level for a few turns. That was really cool. They talked about the gyms. Basically, they're going to take place in like huge stadiums. You're going to fight the different gym leaders. And what's cool is that unlike other gym battles where it's basically just you versus the people in it, and like that's it, there's not really any spectators, here it's kind of cool because it's huge stadiums and there's like huge crowds watching you. They showed off a few characters. They showed off the champion. You know, it said that he's undefeated, which is like, you know, that's pretty interesting. He looks pretty cool, I think. They introduced his younger brother, who is supposed to be your rival. His name is Hop, and basically he's this kid who like wants to like be like his older brother. So like that's fun. They introduced the professor for the region. Her name is Professor Magnolia. It's like this old lady. She seems cool. They introduced Sonia, who's her granddaughter and her assistant. I mean, she looks super cute. A lot of people are like super into her. They introduced new Pokemon. I think honestly the standout, apart from the legendary sword dog or whatever, Wooloo, who's this sheep Pokemon, and it is like the cutest Pokemon ever. I definitely want to catch one of those like right away. And I know that a lot of people are going crazy for it. So like I thought that was really fun. And yeah, I mean, you'd kind of have to like look at the article linked in the description below. But yeah, they just have all sorts of new information and a trailer and details, all that good stuff. And I don't know, I'm excited for the game. I think it looks really cool. You know, from the giant kaiju battles to the cute Pokemon they introduced to like the characters and everything. I think the game looks really fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know if you're looking forward to it as well. Like I said, the game is supposed to launch November 15th. So I don't know what else is there to say. Just look forward to it, I guess. Let's see here. Moving on. This is kind of a short story because we don't have too much information just yet, but Ubisoft confirmed that Watch Dogs 3, like the full reveal will be at E3. And basically they've confirmed that it's called Watch Dogs Legion. And for the little information I did find around, it sounds like it's going to take place in the UK. And it has to do, it's weird. Unlike the other two games where you played as like a set protagonist, here, like I've heard details that apparently like you can play as like a number of NPCs, which is like why it's called Legion. Because unlike, you know, the other games where you play as one specific person, here you play as like one of like many. You know, like I've heard details that you can like switch around between different NPCs. So I don't know how that's going to work. That'll definitely be interesting, you know, once they reveal more details. But, you know, there you go. If you've been wanting another Watch Dogs 3 is confirmed. And like I said, it's called Watch Dogs Legion. So I don't know. I mean, just look forward to more details at E3, I guess, you know, all we can really do is just wait and see what else they say about it. So there you go. The next two announcements are for two games that are getting remastered, both of which I have not played actually, but I still thought I would, you know, mention them because I've heard they're games that people are really looking forward to. The first one is Ghostbusters, the video game. Apparently, you know, a remastered version is coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, and it's supposed to be due out in 2019. So there you go. Like I said, I haven't played the game before, but I know I've heard a lot of people say that they really did enjoy it, and I've seen some footage that it looks fun, you know? So I don't know, I just thought I'd throw that out there. I don't know if any of you have played it, but I mean, if you've played it in the past and you would love to like play a remastered version on current gen consoles, then there you go, you know, it's coming soon, so look forward to it. Likewise, another game that's getting a remaster and that's coming soon is SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. So once again, I'm ashamed to admit I have not played this game, even though I have heard a lot of good stuff about it. But yeah, basically, you know, that was the announcement. It's called Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and I believe it's also set to come out this year. I'm trying to look real quick. Yeah, that one, it doesn't really specify. But yeah, there you go. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom coming soon. And apparently, you know, not only do I know a lot of people are excited for it, just in general, but if you look at the remake features, apparently it's going to include restored content that was cut from the original. So I don't know, if you've played the game before, there you go. Not only is it getting remastered and getting like current gen graphics, all that good stuff, but they are putting like extra content into it. So once again, if you've played the game before and you want to play it again, look forward to it. Speaking of look forward to it, a game that I have been looking forward to, but that unfortunately has been delayed, is No Straight Roads. I don't know how many of you know about this game. It's this cool little game where basically you play as these two characters. I believe the girl is called Mayday, and her motif is like orange, and she plays the guitar. And the guy, I don't remember what his name is, but his motif is green. And he plays the drums. And it's supposed to be like this character action game mixed with music, which is really cool. Oh, his name's Zook. Sorry, I just looked. His name is Zook. There actually is a brief overview. So let me just read it real quick. So No Straight Roads is an action game that puts music and sound at the heart of gameplay. Played as Mayday and Zook, two members of the indie rock band Bunk Bed Junction, players must fight back against the NSR megacorporation, an EDM empire that has taken control of Vinyl City and banned all other types of music. Explore Vinyl City's eclectic districts and use music to transform objects into weapons, face colossal bosses, and change the world. So yeah, there you go. I don't know if that sounds interesting. I think the game looks really charming. I think it looks really fun. Like I said, the only bad thing is that it did get delayed into 2020, which on the one hand, that kind of sucks. But on the other hand, I think that's good because, as the rest of the title states, it has a new publisher, it has a PS4 physical edition, and just, in general, the fact that it's getting pushed back so they can work on it and really tweak it and polish it, it's a good thing, even though it sucks for it to get delayed. At least hopefully, the game comes out as best as it can. So I don't know. But yeah, if you guys sound interested based on what I just read, I would say, yeah, keep an eye out for it. I think it looks like a really fun game. It looks really charming. So there you go. Switching over to movie news. This is a news story from quite a while back. It's something that I wish I could have talked about as soon as it popped up, but it is what it is. But yeah, basically surprising nobody, Sonic the Hedgehog movie delayed 3 months for redesign. So yeah, I want to say the story came out on the 24th. Yeah. And basically, after all the backlash from how crappy Sonic looks and everything, the director put out a tweet where it's a little sign that says 2/14/20 and basically says, taking a little more time to make Sonic just right. And then he inputs hashtag no VFX artists were harmed in the making of this movie. So on the one hand, good for them for taking responsibility and deciding to take their time with this and fix it and not overwork the VFX artist. On the other hand, it's come on, guys. Fixing the graphics isn't going to fix the script. So, I don't know. I still expect this movie to be kind of a train wreck, but hey, at least it'll be less of a train wreck, I guess. So, I don't know. Only time will tell. But there you go. If you were excited to watch the Sonic movie, it's been pushed back. So expect it on Valentine's Day. So there you go. If you and your loved one don't know what to do on Valentine's Day, there you go. Why not go watch the Sonic movie? Speaking of disasters, this next news story is about how the Dark Phoenix, which is the, newest X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix has the worst Rotten Tomatoes score of any X-Men movie. And to that, all I really have to say is that similar to the Sonic story, no surprise. Honestly, is anyone surprised that it's doing bad? I mean, I don't know. First of all, the last movie wasn't very good. So there's that. Second of all, once again, for whatever reason, they're trying to do a storyline that they haven't earned yet. So yeah, are you surprised that it's not going to work out well when you're doing a storyline that hasn't been earned? I mean, we were barely introduced to this character and we're supposed to care that she's going evil. That's stupid. Third, with Fox being bought out by Disney, I've heard that production was a mess and I heard that there was all sorts of rewrites and they rushed a bunch of stuff, that sort of thing. So yeah, are you surprised that the movie's doing terrible? Come on. So yeah, I mean, I still kind of want to check out the movie at some point just to see how bad it is. But there you go. If you're wondering if the Dark Phoenix movie was worth watching, this basically seems to point at no. Not only does it seem like it was super rushed, not only does it seem like it's doing a storyline that's unearned, not only does it seem like who cares since, they got bought out by Disney anyway, but yeah, apparently the movie isn't very good. So there you go. If you want to know whether or not to skip it, you have your answer, so let's move on. This next one is an interesting one because basically a few weeks ago, it was announced that Warner Brothers officially cast Robert Pattinson as Batman. And like I said, it's one of those interesting stories because, like, on the one hand, I'm not dying to see like a Batman movie anytime soon. Like, I'm good, so I don't really care about the news. I don't really like, I'm not like dying to see a Batman movie, so it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, I saw there was a lot of backlash and a lot of people are like mad that they cast him, but it's one of those things where, like, I don't know. I mean, if you've seen Robert Pattinson in other roles outside of Twilight, like, he has some roles where he actually does a pretty good job. Like, I think I just heard that in like the newest movie he came out in, it's called like Lighthouse or something. I heard that he does like a really good job there. And I know there was this movie I watched called The Lost City of Z, where he comes out as like this grizzled older guy with the beard, and like he totally transforms where you don't even really recognize it's him. Like, he does a great job. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I just want to share this news story because even though I'm not like super 100% like invested in this, like, I don't really care. At the same time, I just think, Robert Pattinson, he deserves his due. I say give him a chance. Let's see how he does. And I don't know, maybe he'll be a good Batman, So I don't know. You can read more about it, in the article linked in the comments below. And, also if you Google it, I know there's a lot of other stories now, more details, that sort of thing. And I don't know. I think people should hold off their judgment until they see him, because who knows, maybe he'll surprise people. Don't really have any TV show news. Honestly, I looked. I didn't really see anything interesting. I mean, if I happen to notice something I missed, same as, when I was sharing my week, I'll just throw it into next week, if I noticed there was something interesting that I might have glossed over. But jumping over to like anime news, I guess you can call it. One news story that I found interesting is that apparently Studio Ghibli is making a theme park. I believe this is a story that's been going around for a couple of years. Like, I believe it was first announced back in 2017, but this new news story that I ran across, basically it says that, there's like a new poster, there's new art of like the different areas that were announced, that sort of thing. And I think it's interesting. Like, if you definitely check out the story that I'm, like linking, it's pretty cool. I think it's supposed to open, I saw the date somewhere. Where was it? I think they're hoping to open it in 2020. No, I think it got pushed back, actually. It says that they were hoping to, open it in 2020, though I do think it's been pushed back. Like, that's what it seems to imply here. But regardless, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's one of those things that if I ever visit Japan, I guess I'll put it on my bucket list of like places to visit. And yeah, if you look at the art, it looks really nice. And imagining that they're going to make that into like an actual place you can visit sounds really cool. And I don't know, like I said, there's just a few details here and there. I don't know when they're going to open the theme park anymore, because it seems to be implied it got pushed back. But yeah, definitely, like I said, if you're like me, I think that's something to put on your bucket list to visit if you ever visit Japan. So, there you go. I just thought it was an interesting story to share. So check out the details, below. Finally, the last news story that I wanted to share, I just thought this was really interesting, I just thought it sounded like it was a fun read, so I thought I'd share it. But basically, O'Shea Jackson Jr., aka Ice Cube's son, he gave an interview recently where he said that he wants to get video game movies right, and he wants to make anime. And so I just thought that was really interesting. I especially thought that the part about anime really stood out to me, because he talks about how basically, I'll just read it, right? Like the little excerpt. He says, I want to make my own anime. I really want to do that. I feel that there's a lot of people in the culture that are fans of anime, but I think we really don't have that many animes directed towards us. We have Boondocks, Black Dynamite, Afro Samurai, and that's really it. I really want to do something cool with that, and I want to be the guy that gets video game movies right. I feel like video game movies are used as a cash grab, and they have loyal fans, a loyal fan base that's untouched, and I want to knock that out. So yeah, I mean, I just thought that was an interesting story, and I think it's cool, similar to like Alita Battle Angel, which was made by Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron, who apparently are both like fans of like anime and like the source material and stuff. Like the same way they made Alita Battle Angel, and I would say it was pretty good for like an anime movie. I feel like it was pretty faithful. I think it's cool to see more of these fans, you know, that really care about these projects and want to make them. Even though I don't really know about stuff like video game movies, like I've said it before, same with like, you know, turning anime into live action. I do think it's just one of those things where it doesn't always work out well because like one media, like if it's done in a media, sometimes it deserves to like stay in that media, and trying to transfer it over to like a different media is like problematic. But you know, that aside, I think that it's cool that he's passionate about this. And like, yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying. Like, it would be kind of cool that if there's people who are fans of this like medium, it would be cool for them to have like, more representation, you know? Like, especially because, you know, not even to get like political or anything, but it's one of those things where like Japan, they haven't always portrayed Black people in the best light, you know, sometimes they draw them like caricatures and it's kind of disrespectful, all that stuff, you know, I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, someone making anime, and especially anime, you know, that kind of portrays African-American people who are like huge fans of the medium, I think that's cool, you know? And so yeah, to make a long story short, you know, I think it's cool he's a, you know, a fan of all this stuff. I think it's cool that he's passionate and he says that he wants to make video game movies done right. He wants to make unique anime. I think that's cool. And so yeah, if you want to read more about it, you know, same as any other article, it'll be linked down below so you can look into it. So yeah, check it out. Alrighty, with that being said, that brings us to the end of another news week. Like I said, you know, earlier, and I've said a few times during the news week, if I missed any major news stories, I apologize. I mean, for one reason or another, maybe a news story didn't catch my attention or I just simply glossed over it. If there's anything that you think is really important that I missed, you know, feel free to, you know, talk about it in the comments below. You know, if it's something that I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I missed that. Like I said, maybe I'll throw it into next week's podcast. You know, I appreciate any and all, you know, feedback from you guys. And yeah, with that being said, I think we should transfer over to the last segment of the podcast, which is, of course, the Content Creator Spotlight. And this week's Content Creator Spotlight, I want to, you know, spotlight a content creator that even though I haven't known him for too long, I think he is great. And I think his channel deserves more subscribers. And I just really want people to like know about him. I want people to be aware about him because I think he deserves a whole lot more attention. And so this week's content creator, it's a little channel called Midnite Monster Party. Currently sitting at 130 subscribers. Midnite Monster Party is like a really fun channel. It's hosted by a half vampire, half goblin gentleman named Spider Island Slim. And man, this channel is like so much fun, guys. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know anything about him, which I think is going to be like most of you, like, where do I even start, man? Okay, first of all, he's a half goblin, half vampire host. And I guess the best way to describe him is think of the Crypt Keeper, but instead of like a really annoying voice and bad puns, imagine a guy with like a deep voice who's really charming, all right? I would say that's Spider Island Slim, all right? And basically the kind of videos he does, like he does a little bit of like everything. Like for instance, the last video he did, it was a little retro review of a movie called 13 Ghosts from 1960. So like that was really cool. He does little movie reviews. Before that though, he did like this like list sort of thing. It was called Greatest Adulthood Movie Scares. And basically it's him, you know, talking to the camera, showing like a bit of footage here and there of movies that even though he was an adult, they still like kind of freaked him out, you know? And it's like, that was really interesting. And hearing him talk about it and explain it, really cool. Before that, he did a video where he talked about the top Thundercats figures. And so like, that's really fun. So I guess the best way to describe him is he mostly does like retro, like toy and cartoon reviews. He talks about horror movies. He talks about like different horror, like paraphernalia, that sort of thing. He has a video where he shows off his closet and all the cool t-shirts he has. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of hard to really like just categorize his channel because he does so much. But trust me, if you watch his channel, it's super entertaining because not only does he do like these little like reviews and he talks to the camera and he like, you know, retro specs about stuff, but the format is really fun. Because, he's talking to the camera, but he has all sorts of like fun gags, like he cuts to commercial breaks and the commercials are all sorts of like retro like commercials, and so that's kind of fun. And I don't know, man, I guess it's kind of hard to categorize his channel because he does so much different stuff, but trust me, his channel is super fun. I think his content is great. I think every video he puts out is like really unique, really cool. And so I don't know. I think I'm just kind of ranting at this point, but long story short, I think you guys should check out Midnite Monster Party, hosted by one Spider Island Slim, because his channel is great and his content is really unique. And, Slim, if you're listening to this, keep up the good work. I hope you get more subscribers because you definitely deserve it. Your channel is awesome. Your channel is fun. I think your content is just so unique and I'm always looking forward to like the next video, that sort of thing. And for anyone else, like I said, check out his channel, follow him on social media, subscribe to him if you think you can. I think you'll really enjoy his content. And yeah, just to sum up, as I say, show him some love, follow his channel, all that good stuff. And if you follow his channel, tell him that Wannabe Reviewer sent you. So there you go. Alrighty, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another podcast. That is one more in the bag. I'm not gonna lie, after not having done a podcast in like 3 weeks, I do feel kind of tired. Like my voice feels like a little faded, because I just haven't talked that long and just so long, but I don't know. I really had fun doing this podcast. And as always, I hope you guys found something entertaining, informative. Hopefully there's something, new that I talked about that you guys want to keep an eye out for, you're excited about, that sort of thing. And yeah, to wrap up, my name is Wannabe Reviewer. You can find me over on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as Wannabe Reviewer. Over on Instagram, I'm posting all sorts of pictures that have to do with like my geek memorabilia that I have in my geek room. I try to post pictures of, stuff that's interesting in my day-to-day, traveling around, that sort of thing. So feel free to add me on Instagram. On Twitter, I do all sorts of updates to the channel. I retweet all sorts of like gaming and anime memes, that sort of thing. I follow a bunch of like voice actors and fellow YouTubers. So, you might see me retweet some stuff from them. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to follow me over there. And finally on YouTube, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a channel called Wannabe Reviewer where every week, not only do I do the podcasting like every Friday, but I also try to do some sort of review on Wednesdays. Whether it's TV shows or movies or video games or anime, every week I try to do some sort of review where I take something that I might have, played or watched and I just talk about it. And I talk about the good and the bad and that sort of thing. So if that sounds interesting to you, feel free to subscribe to me over there. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, with that being said, I think that's just about it. So hopefully you guys have had good weeks, leading up to this podcast. And hopefully you guys have a good week leading up to the next one. I will try my very best to be back next week for podcast 34. And yeah, my name is the Wannabe Reviewer, and I'll catch you guys next time.